All right, so you guys asked for it. I heard you loud and clear. You want to see more instruction on how to do dope. Okay, so in today's shop installment, I'm going to essentially do a highlight. I'm going to do a high level overview, mostly because, again, I've done this before fairly recently on my channel, just 2 years ago when I did my Kaos 60. I mean, seriously, guys, check out the link above. It's not a big deal, and I think some of you may think that it's harder than it actually is. It's really not. It just takes a bit more time, patience, and ventilation. So I have a couple of examples here. I'm going to turn the camera around and go over a couple of things like I normally do to talk you through it. Then I'll do some demonstration to just show you like it's really not a big deal. Just get in and get it done, do it. All right, let's do this. So the fuselage is here on a stool, mostly because I'm only doing the aft portion of the fuselage. So yeah, it's there to be accessible for applying the dope. So I've already applied the deluxe cover grip. So you apply the cover grip to the wood areas, and then you apply the SIG coverall to each of the places, and you essentially treat that like an iron-on covering. It's not really a big mystery. It's just a patience, okay? So you're painting a little bit of the adhesive on because the coverall doesn't come with the adhesive, and then you use a warm iron. I'm not going to tell you specific temperatures because some people like different temperatures for applying, and then you go and shrink it a little bit. And I hit that with a heat gun. Again, not big mystery stuff. So then we move on to doping. The dope that I'm using is actually from Aircraft Spruce. I'm using this stuff, non-tautening butyrate clear dope, Randolph Aircraft Products. Okay, so this stuff comes in a can. I got a quart size shipped to my house, and then you just use a standard brush. Okay, just using a brush, and you dip it in the can, brush it on the thing, and you can see where it gets wet. Now, as you go over it, you will see where areas are starting to dry. So it's important to try to work in smaller patches. Don't be like, oh, well, I'm going to go up here, and then I'm going to go down here, and up here, and here, and then we'll meet somewhere in the middle. No, because your finish is going to end up looking kind of rough and kind of bumpy, and that's not what you want. You want it to be kind of smooth and eventually have a kind of sheen to it. When you're done, it's going to look kind of plasticky. Now, like, here's a great example. That's a great example. Because, okay, so here's the thing. These areas, because they are not open areas, I've only done these twice. Whereas this area, I've done 3 coats. 3 coats here, mostly because I want to make sure that we're sealed up against any fuel or oil. We are going to have exhausts coming through here and spitting exhaust all along the fuselage, so we want to make sure that things are pretty well sealed up and we're not going to get gross stuff inside the plane. But yeah, everything else is just 2 coats because that's all it really needs, because we're going to do primer after this. We're going to apply some primer before we go to paint. That way everything is gonna stick. Okay, so over here we have our tail planes. We've got rudder, H-stab, elevator, elevator, aileron, aileron, and of course all of our hatches for the wings. So all of these have had 1 coat. So I need to do 2 coats. I don't think I'm gonna do any more than that because of these small areas, and I think that if I'm smart about how I apply, that once I do that and then go to apply primer, that we will be good. Now, once all of this is done, like the 2 coats are done, that's when I'm going to start cutting away the areas that need to be cut away. So like for my hinge, my slots for my hinges, for my control horns, and what else? Yeah, also the pinholes in the side for my control rods or control horn pins that slide all the way through. Yeah, those need to be taken care of as well. I'm probably going to melt holes with a soldering iron just because, again, this is plastic material and it'll melt pretty easily. So that's a good one to help fuse those in so it doesn't fray or anything like that. All right, very straightforward stuff. And then once I get to the wings, I'll do some explaining there as well. So I'm going to put you on a tripod and I'm going to do more of this second coat. I do one side and then the other side, and then I let the whole thing cure out over a day. And that way I don't get little rough spots. I've noticed that if you try to apply too many layers too quickly, it doesn't turn out quite as nice. You got to let each one of these layers cure out. Do you get the idea? So real quick, so that my brush doesn't dry out, I'm going to do the first coat on the wing here, just get started on it, and then we'll talk about it after. I want you to notice what the open bays look like. They're going to get kind of spotty. And so I'll do the edges first because that's the way I like to do, so I make sure that I get the edges nice and secure. But then, yeah, look at these open bays. I want you to see what they look like. We'll come back and talk about those in a minute. All right, so we're going to go over a couple of things. I need to explain a few things just because I can't really explain it while I'm doing it. So retroactively, feel free to go back and look at these observations because it kind of makes sense once you do it, okay? You can't necessarily go into something like, I'm just going to do it now, okay? Do studies. Go ahead and make yourself like a balsa frame, cover it with some of the SIG coverall, and then do this technique. I'll show you my study. It's right here, okay? So I made a little balsa frame and I did the same thing. I applied the cover grip from Deluxe Materials. I did the SIG coverall, doped it, figured out, okay, this is what I need to do. And then I figured out my painting technique, prime, paint, clear, etc. And then later, when I was working on my cub, I figured out, hey, I'll just figure out how I'm going to do the rib stitching. So that's what I did there, okay? So do studies. They help because rather than screw up something on a model, you screw up on the study and you learn your technique, okay? So let me turn you around and we'll go over some observations. So as the wing continues to cure out, I do want to note that the whole basement is huge and I have the HVAC system right there. So we do have air movement from the house. In addition, I've got a little fan blowing over there. So When you wet out the dope onto the open bays, you can see how it gets kind of splotchy, and that really only happens on the first coat. You can see I went really heavy-handed, but we're trying to work the dope into the fabric, and then it gets kind of splotchy because there's liquid. The butyrate dope is a liquid that's kind of being squished into the fibers, and then it's like creating little droplets on the inside. As the solvents evaporate, all of this kind of swells up and then everything closes, and all the little pores in the fabric, they close up. Okay, it's not going to be perfect on the first coat. That's why I say 3. You do 3 coats. Now, note that the first coat is really heavy, and then the second 2 coats are going to be kind of light because you don't need to penetrate the fibers nearly as heavily because the first time is always the worst time. So after this is cured out, obviously I'm going to flip this over once it's a bit dry, like dry to the touch. Like it's pretty dry to the touch, but it feels a little bit wet up in this area. But I'll flip it over, and then I'll do the other side, and then I will let that cure for a full day. Again, when you go to do your second and third coats, make sure that there's a full day between, because you really want to make sure that everything is hard and solid before you apply fresh coats, at least in my experience, because otherwise when you go to apply your second or third coats, the butyrate dope kind of softens the layer beneath, and then it gets kind of gummy, and then it gets kind of rough. And you don't want that. You want a nice smooth finish. And so that's why, like, you can see the brush strokes, a little bit of the dope. If you want to get super fancy, you can thin this stuff out and use an airbrush, aerosol everything, and get super high. But as it is, like, there are fumes in here, but it's not bad because it's a big room and I've got airflow, okay? Additionally, if you want to use a respirator, highly recommend it. All right, so with all of those things out of the way, it's a process, right? And so it takes time, and that's why it's taken so long to do this. But when it's done, and it's going to be done basically for the life of the entire model, for its, like, until it crashes. I mean, this stuff is really, really tough. You have to cut it to make it like crack or anything, and it's not going to separate from the wood. So that's that. It's really a very basic process. It takes time. It's more complicated, but it is a superior finish, and it looks more scale, and it's more longevity, has better longevity. It's just a more robust covering than like your typical clear or plastic covering. It just, they're not as good. They're inferior. And so if you want a nice model, do this. Do not use the plastic coverings if you want something to last for more than 2 decades. I want this model to last me well past 2 decades. Hopefully my piloting skills will be sufficient to get it that far as well. Last thing is cleanup. I'm using acetone in a glass jar. The glass jar I swish around the brush, and then wipe any remnants onto a paper towel. It can discard things. Again, this is flammable stuff. The butyrate dope and the acetone are flammable. So make sure that you're using well-ventilated area. I don't have a pilot or light or anything for my heat, even though I'm using natural gas. So we're good in here, okay? Not to mention the heat isn't running. So again, make sure that you're safe, okay? Make sure that you're being very, very safe as you do this stuff, because your ability to continue modeling matters to me. Now, in the coming weeks, I will tell you that I'll be busy. April is going to be busy for me. I have many trips. First and foremost, I'm headed to Toledo. So if I see you guys at Toledo, come say hi. I don't bite too hard. I will be at the Dubro booth with the Dubro guys. Come say hi. I'd love to chat and talk shop, anything with you guys, really. And then after that, I am taking a work trip. And then after that, I'm headed to Seth in Georgia. That's going to be a great time. Again, doing Dubro stuff there, but certainly there for a good time. I will have many GBs for Seth. Lots of GBs is my theme this year for Seth. Then after Seth, it's going to be moving into some family times, preparing for some family times. So if my uploads are erratic, that is why. I may not be able to get to stuff, or it might be something relatively short. But I do have things coming. I've got a couple of items to review, and I think they will be worth your time as well, because you guys know I don't review things very often, and when I do, it's something worth considering. So if you like what you see and you appreciate the instruction that I'm trying to give you guys here, give me a like or a subscribe. I appreciate those things. Even a comment helps with the algorithm stuff. But otherwise, just head on over to dubro.com and use that code Josh10 for you at checkout and save yourself about 10%. And that way you can keep working on your flying works of art.